All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us for our first training, which is on position papers. My name is Taylor. I'm going to start with just a little bit of information that'll be helpful for you guys, and then Deanna and Eric are going to take over doing your training. So first things first, we have a couple new changes coming to MAMUN this year. Um, Deanna, can you click to the next one? Thank you. Um, So this year, position papers are going to be due on Thursday, February 22nd at 5 p.m. We have it written on almost every single slide, so please be sure to write this down and keep that in mind. Position papers are going to, here's our submission link on our website. For those of you who have submitted position papers for us before, it is typically the same setup as we usually do. There's a maximum word count of 500. This is about 3 paragraphs, and we'll show you examples of what that looks like as the presentation continues. So we have done this at our past conferences, but for those of you who have not attended one of our conferences, we do have a best position paper award that we give out. Our staff will be reviewing and grading the position papers, and then we will determine which delegate provided the best position paper. And obviously, to be eligible for that award, you have to submit position papers for your topics in your committee.
All right, so this year, delegates to be eligible for committee awards, position papers are required for every committee topic. So for example, if you're in DISEC, you have 3 topics, you will have to submit a position paper for each one of those topics. But like we said, they're about 500 word maximum, 3 paragraphs. It's a good way to learn about your topic and have background information. So this is mostly done to help you familiarize yourself with the topic. In addition, we also will be requiring the delegation to submit 1 position paper on the General Assembly topic. So this is something new that we're doing this year, where the General Assembly will have its own individual topic that the delegates will research and debate about in the General Assembly. For those of you who have come to our conferences in the past, you may be aware that we typically, after committee, we would bring those topics to the General Assembly, and as a General Assembly, we would amend the resolutions that you guys passed in committee. But this year, we're doing something completely different. And with that, we are requiring your delegation. So your team must submit 1 position paper on the topic as a team. How you decide to do that is up to you, whether your team wants to have some of you do research, some do writing. That is up to the team and your teachers, but we are requiring 1 position paper.
Taylor, I'll take it from here.
Perfect. Thank you, Deanna.
Yep, no problem. Hi, everybody. I'm Deanna. I'm on the MAMUN staff. I've been for quite some time. And Eric will be my co-presenter. There he is. So Taylor kind of gave you the background. We're going to tell you what that actually means and hammer home not only when they're due, but what you need to do. And so Taylor gave an example, but we'll go through them just to make sure we're all on the same page of what's required for position papers. So these are just some random countries that Eric and I chose when putting this presentation together. I don't know if any of you are the United Kingdom in DISEC. This is just an example. If you are, though, maybe pay extra close attention. But so to be eligible for highest or second honors as the United Kingdom in DISEC or any other country in DISEC, the delegates will have to submit position papers on each of the topics. These are your topics, and we didn't do this for every committee. We just want to hammer home by examples. what would happen in the dissect committee. So there are 3 topics, and later in the presentation, we'll show you exactly how you submit them and where those the substantive position paper would be submitted. And so here, those are the 3 topics in dissect. That United Kingdom delegate, to be eligible for an award from their committee, which for MAMUN would be highest honors or second honors, will submit 3 different position papers, 1 for topic A, 1 for topic B, and 1 for topic C. By way of another example, if you're Greece in SciTech, which again, no idea if any of you are, but by way of example, if you are, and you want to be eligible for an award, highest honors or second honors, then the 3 topics that will be covered in the SciTech committee, A, B, and C, that delegate, here my example is Greece, will have to submit 3 position papers, 1 for each topic. You can't submit 3 for topic A and none for the rest. You can't submit, 2 on one, 1 on another. You will see when we get further down that there are specific required fields. So we make it so that you have to submit a position paper on the topic, but in order to be award eligible, the delegate from Greece would have to cover all of them. Now, by way of another example is the Security Council, because that's a little bit different. They not only have more topics, but they have an open topic, meaning any delegate can submit a resolution or a position paper on any topic that would be facing the Security Council. So here, example of Ecuador and Security Council, if you're here, welcome. But for that delegate to be eligible for highest honors in Security Council, then the delegate from Ecuador will need to submit a position paper on 4 topics. There are 4 Security Council topics. And so all 4 will require a position paper. However, to be award eligible, the Security Council delegates do not have to submit a position paper on the open topic. So the topics as they are on the agenda, A through D, yes, you do, but the open topic, you can, but if you do not, that will not affect your eligibility for a committee award. If there are questions about this, we have time at the end too to cover questions, but we just want to make sure that everybody understands, not only for the committee, but again, for Security Council. Now we contrast that with the General Assembly, because that's a little bit different. You will, like Taylor mentioned, for the first time this year, we will be requiring position papers for the General Assembly in order for the delegation to be award eligible. So in order to receive highest or second honors as a delegation in the General Assembly, there will need to be a position paper submitted. And the topic, protection of global climate for present and future generations of humankind, there's 1 topic that's being debated in the General Assembly. And so we'll do a little bit of, not necessarily a quiz, but just to hammer home what we're doing here. If you were paying attention to what Taylor said, she told you how many position papers need to be submitted on the topic, whether it's 1 per delegate or 1 per delegation. And I know most of you finished school already for the day, so I won't make anyone raise hands or have any questions, but it's only 1 on behalf of the whole delegation. So if your delegation is made up of 4 or 5 students, we do not want, and we will not consider 4 or 5 different position papers on the GA topic from the same country. Rather, I don't think I did a specific example, but if you are France and you want to submit your position paper for the General Assembly, there will be only 1 paper from the entire delegation. And as Taylor referenced, and it's indicated on the slide, it is up to you as the delegation of France or whatever country you're representing, how you will split that up. If 1 delegate writes all of it and submits all of it, on behalf of the delegation, that's entirely your call. The advisors or the delegations themselves can divide up whether it's research, writing, however you want to do it is entirely up to you. But there can be one and only one um, GA position paper per delegation per country. So now that you know when it's due and what's got to be in it and how many, I'm sorry, what's due and what exactly you need to do, Eric's going to go through what should be in it.
Thanks, Deanna. And I will continue her warm welcome by saying we're very excited to try out this new General Assembly format for the year. We are very excited, whether it's your first MAMUN or fourth MAMUN this spring. We are looking forward to being with you in person. So as Deanna has described very eloquently, who needs to submit for what topics and whether it's committee or General Assembly, we should do a little bit of a deeper dive into what is included in a position paper. We as Magic staff are going to be looking for 3 sections of information. Your position paper should be broken up roughly into these 3 sections. The first section is including or describing background information to introduce the topic. It should be relevant to the topic at hand and provide contextual background information for why the UN is discussing this topic. The second section is your specific countries or delegations policy on the topic. So that background information is probably the problem in the global context, and then transitioning into how does your country feel about that topic. That might be referencing past action that your delegation has taken, or if there's recent leadership changes, what your country has changed its stance to address the particular topic. The third section is a proposed way to address or resolve the topics at hand. This should be something that you are taking action on to come up with some sort of solution, proposed or realistic, proposed and realistic to fix whatever needs to be fixed. And then as a comprehensive note, spelling, grammar, and overall style will be evaluated and considered in grading the position papers. Thanks, Deanna. So just to describe this in a little bit more detail, again, thinking about these 3 sections of a position paper, the first section is to describe the topic's historical origins. Why is it important to the United Nations, to the international community? Why do other countries care? How are those countries related to each other in the context of this problem? I recommend taking a general approach and then focusing in on a particular aspect if it's salient or relevant to your country especially.
I'm going to jump in just real quick.
Yeah.
For example, a topic on the situation in the Middle East. We know there are a lot of situations in the Middle East. And so you can, in this background topic, your background section, provide the pertinent background information for what is going on, and then focusing on whichever situation in the Middle East you are seeking to address within the position paper. That's just by way of example. How you can focus on a specific aspect. If you want to focus on Israel and Palestine, or if you want us to focus on Syria, what have you, you do still need to provide the background information within the region so that we then know why this aspect of this topic matters.
That's a great example. Thanks, Deanna. And I guess I would add another one, for example, the issue of peacekeepers, if that's the topic more generally. You might, and you are the delegation of Haiti, you might consider describing the problem of peacekeepers at large And then focusing more narrowly as you transition into the second section as to the historic context of the problem of peacekeepers in your country in particular. It then transitions into the second section of your position paper, which should be your country's policy on the topic. So not this section is not targeted on the first, which is what happened or what's the context, but now it's how does your country currently feel? What is the policy that your country takes towards addressing the problem or the topic? This might be available in the form of treaties or resolutions that your country has signed. It might take the form of press releases that the government has officially published. Really, the question you want to ask is, what are the global efforts that your country is engaged in related to the topic at hand? And then this will transition into the third and the last section of your position paper of developing a resolution or a solution, a proposed solution to the topic at hand. Again, this solution needs to be both realistic and creative. We don't, as much as we love fantasizing about aliens and UFOs, this is not the place in our conference to be debating or discussing or presenting that type of a solution. The solution that you propose should be both realistic and creative. So where can you turn to for support as you put together your position papers? I will shout out the MAMUN Online website, mamunonline.com. That is Magic's official website with lots and lots of different conference prep materials. There are examples of position papers that we have reviewed highly over the years, found at this URL, which you will have access to via this recording. When you follow that URL, we will go to the next slide. You will see as an example from MAMUN last year, excellent position paper submitted from Washtenaw International High School to the Economic and Financial Committee, the topic being external debt sustainability and development. The delegation submitting this was France, and this first paragraph of their position paper did an excellent job providing the background information for the topic at hand. Again, describing why sovereign debt is important, looking at the role of debt sustainability in Europe, and then transitioning to focusing in on France in particular. We see in their second section that they describe specifically the policies that the delegation from France supports or understands or advocates for as solutions to this problem as they currently stand. And then we transition into the last section of their position paper where they describe proposed solutions to the problem and how the French delegation seeks to participate in that solution during the conference.
And if I'm remembering correctly, this sample position paper won the Best Position Paper Award. And there is another example, which I think won second honors also on the website. So it's definitely a good example to look to.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned the mamunonline.com website. The additional resources that are available to you, I alluded to, but remember that your country likely has foreign policy or foreign policies published on a foreign relations website. It's likely that there's an embassy page or some sort of government page that provides outreach and PR statements on particular issues, especially if those issues are hosted by the delegation you're representing. Again, I mentioned past voting records on United Nations resolutions. That is a great and creative way to look up, okay, here's this resolution that sought to develop a new international funding agency to funnel money in support of a particular conflict. My country voted against that. It would be strange if you came to the conference and tried to say otherwise. So taking a look at past UN resolutions that are all public and available on the United Nations website is helpful. And then lastly, for more microscopically and relevant to you, the grading rubric is available on the MAMUN Online website. The URL is included here, and then we included a screenshot of that. Again, remembering that the position papers are broken into 3 sections: background, policy, proposal, with some nuance and finesse for formatting, grammar, and readability.
And like Eric mentioned, this is on the website. That is a very long link, but if you were to go to the position papers section of the website, you will be able to find this as well. But, you know, we're not intending to hide the ball. We want to give you the information of what we're looking for, because that will help all of you submit the best papers that you can, and have us as MAMUN staff reading them, make it easier on us as well. But primarily to make it easiest for you, so you know exactly what we're looking for. We talked earlier about how to submit a paper. So now you know when it's due, you know what needs to be in it. So what do you do with it when it's done? Well, this will take you through how to do that. And there's a different practice or a different submission process for the GA one and for the individual committee ones. So first we'll start with the committee ones. And I need to stress, I cannot stress this enough, do not give us Google Doc links. We want the actual, oh, where did it go? Oh, somebody is screen sharing over me the position paper section of the website. Here we go. Are you still seeing the presentation or the submission link?
We are seeing mamunonline.com.
Okay, perfect. Sure. Okay, fantastic. So here is the position paper link with the reminder of when it's due. Over in this section here is the guides and resources that Eric and I just mentioned, of where you can find the rubric and where you can find the past position paper winners and things like that. But this is all in the position paper and resolution section of the MAMUN Online website. Okay, I'm gonna close that. There we go. So like I mentioned, do not submit Google Drive links. Or Google Doc links. We just want to see the actual text. The text itself must be copy and pasted into the form, which we will show you in just a minute. Here is the submission paper link, which I just saw on the website. And this is what it will look like when you click the submission link. So, and this is for the individual position papers. If you can see in the top left, I'm touching my screen, but that doesn't help you guys. But you can see in the top left where there's a box around it. I added that box. It will not be on the form. I'm just trying to highlight for you what you will see if you're in the committee one. If you're in the GA one, it will look different. And as it says, for the General Assembly position papers, go to the other form. But let's say you're a representative in the legal committee, you will put in your first and last name exactly as it should appear on your credentials, because that's how we're going to match who submitted the position paper with the delegation or with the delegate submitting it. You need to enter an email address, select your school from the drop-down list. Your school will be in there, so make sure you find it, and then enter the country that you are representing. So if you are Chile in legal, you would write Chile in there. We can't stress enough, you do not enter the country you live in. Do not enter United States unless you are the delegate representing the United States. Do not enter Canada unless you are the delegate representing Canada. So we don't need that information of where you live. We just need to know who to attribute this position paper to. And then you select your MAMUN committee. This is the first screen you'll see. When you hit next, you will see this. This is a Security Council example because they have more topics, as I mentioned earlier. And there are 4 topics. You will see this asterisk. It's the same for the other committees that have 3 topics. The asterisk means, of course, it's required. And so this is where you would paste your position paper for each topic. 1, 2, 3, 4. You do not have to do one for open, and you are free to include your works cited. We ask that you include them in the works cited section versus in each individual one. It just makes it easier when converting the form for us to ultimately read all the different position papers. And when you are doing this, as a delegate, you need to submit all of them at the same time. So don't complete the situation in the Middle East and then leave the others blank or type a space or the letter A, as you can see that I did, and then go to next. You need to submit all of them together so that we can then confirm you did submit one per each topic to be award eligible. Once you do that, and you hit next, you'll see this page where you will need to verify with your signature that this is your own work, not plagiarized, not ChatGPT. This is your work attributable to you. We have a lot of very smart staffers, a lot of very tech savvy staffers. We're not looking for that. We're not going to assume that anything is but your own work, but this is verifying it. And then in the event we do find something, we can reach out to that delegate or to that advisor to discuss what we found. Then you hit submit and you are complete with your submission for your position papers, which need to be done by 5 o'clock Eastern on February 22nd. That's a Thursday. Oh, yep, submit. Now that's different from GA, which Eric will cover.
Thanks, Deanna. So exactly as Deanna described for the committees, there is a separate submission form for your General Assembly position papers. We also added a red box on this slide just to highlight the area indicating at the top of the submission page that this page is for your GA position paper. Keep in mind and remember that you should only submit one position paper for the one topic that is going to be discussed in General Assembly. And so the form looks a little bit different, with the first drop-down menu emphasizing the country or the delegation that you are representing. Like Deanna described, not the country that you currently live in just because you are there. You would only submit the USA if you represent the delegation from USA and are submitting a position paper on behalf of the US and the US's position. If you then work through the form, the submission form there then asks for your first and last name as the contact person to reach out to if there are any issues with your position paper. We know that this position paper represents the entire delegation of France or Chile or South Africa, because you will be submitting on behalf of your entire delegation. Again, an email address to reach out to if any issues, and then your school that you're representing. The form, the next page will have two additional blocks. This first block is where you'll paste all of the text of your position paper into the first box. You'll notice the red asterisk indicating that it's a required field, and then making sure that you cite all of your works. It is okay for your committee position papers, scrolling back to Deanna's section, if you prepare your position papers in one Word document so that all the citations flow across all of them. and then copy and paste the different position papers into each of the text boxes so that all of the citations match with the one citation box. I don't know if that makes sense.
You can, I followed it. I use Word all the time, but you could also in your works cited, if it's easier to write, topic A and then have the works cited underneath it and break it up topic B and then the ones that follow. Presumably, our staff will be pretty good at identifying which works cited relate to which topic. But if for your purposes, it makes it easier to just do topic A, list them, B, list them, we're okay with that too. We specifically have a separate section for it so it doesn't get formatted or muddled within the text of the position paper itself.
Very good. So then after you have included the text of your position paper for the General Assembly topic, you'll move to the next screen where again, you'll certify that the work that you're submitting is all your own work that is not plagiarized or copied from other people's work that's been published or put on the internet and not developed using ChatGPT to include or to come up with what you're submitting for Model UN. Again, we are a tech-savvy staff, and we will not hesitate to reach out to your advisor if we are noticing something that seems unusual. And so we appreciate your commitment to academic integrity, and you will agree to that by clicking the Submit button on this third page.
There's one small caveat with the GA1. We understand that it may be a collaborative effort among the group and the delegation. And so whoever is certifying this information, we know it's with the understanding that there may be other delegates who contributed to it, but the overall premise remains the same in terms of the origination of the work and not being plagiarized from any member of the delegation.
Deanna and Eric, do you mind if I say something real quick?
Come on in.
Just to elaborate a little bit more off of the plagiarism. Specifically, we know people really like using ChatGPT. We know ChatGPT has its benefits, but we can also tell when students ask ChatGPT to write their position papers for them. So we are asking that when you sign this, that when you are saying you did not plagiarize, that also means you did not ask ChatGPT to assist you with the work. So I think that should be clear based on that, but we just want to emphasize that ChatGPT has its perks, but writing your position paper should not be one of them. So thank you.
Absolutely. And the limitations, as Taylor mentioned, is it's frozen in time. Last I knew it was several years back. Like it only goes up to a certain date. And so depending on what is going on with your country, if ChatGPT, let's say, is 2020, a lot has happened since then in all of the world. I can't remember the date specifically, but just by example, and we will be first know like this sounds strange because of the way that it's written. ChatGPT has its own kind of cadence of things, but beyond that, we'll be like, well, wait a minute, what about all of the recent stuff that has happened? So we don't want to be in a position to reach out to you or to reach out to your advisor saying, tell us how you did this and not ChatGPT, because frankly, if you do submit something from ChatGPT and I go and ask the same question, I'm going to get mostly the same answer. And so if we see a lot of people doing that, everybody's going to be submitting the same, for example, background policy. It's going to be very obvious. And frankly, it's not hard to find the information on, the policies themselves. And so it's just not worth the risk or worth the potential inaccuracies instead of just finding out that information for yourself and making sure it's accurate.
And then just a reminder that all of the position papers for both committee and GA are due by Thursday, February 22nd at 5 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes. Apparently wasn't, didn't hammer into Eric enough to be on every slide, but that's okay. But we do have a school in the central time zone. So we want to make sure, especially for that school, that it's on Eastern time. I also live in the central time zone and frequently have to accommodate for Eastern time. So just please be aware of that. We are happy to take any questions that anyone has about all things position paper. So just you can either come off mute, raise your hand, however you want to do it. We are here to answer your question.
Will this recording be available for people who weren't allowed to see this online or something like that?
It will be available. I mean, everyone's allowed to see it, but if they weren't available to see it, it is being recorded as mentioned at the beginning. But yes, it will be available. So those links will be there too, if you need it, or if you can't find it from the website. Yes, and that is the same for next week's presentation as well.
Deanna, Alessandro
Thank you.
asked, what are the most common mistakes that delegates make on their position papers?
Oh, I'm just now seeing the chat. Sorry about that. Um, well, we've covered in terms of plagiarism is unfortunately an issue. From my perspective, and I've been doing this for quite a while, I see a lot that the creative resolution gets missed. They give us the background and they give us where their country is at on the issue. It says, I look forward to discussing it in the committee, or something kind of just very general without coming up with a resolution that could then springboard the discussion in the committee. And so, missing one of those three critical pieces is common, unfortunately. And sometimes it's okay to say we've tried a lot of different things as an international community, and we need to come up with something else. But you need to include what that something else is, or have a starting point for it, because we understand that if these issues were easy to resolve, they would be resolved by now, and there wouldn't need to be all the efforts of the UN. But at the same point, just saying, yes, we know it's an issue. Yes, France believes war is bad. Let's talk about it later is not what we have in mind for the position papers. We want to know why it's a problem in the international community, what your country does, where their stance is, and what we can do about it. Eric, do you have anything else?
Yeah, thanks, Deanna. I was going to add, I think one of the biggest areas for growth in some of the position papers I've read are digging deeper into a particular topic to make sure you're covering the full context of the problem at hand. It's, easy to focus in on one small facet of a problem, and if you don't know what the problem's about, then it's easy not to write about it. So after you have a rough draft of your position paper where you think you're heading, or that you're in a good initial spot, ask an advisor or another teacher to take a glance at your position paper and say, hey, do I have a full understanding of this topic? Is there a part of it that I don't have represented, that you can point me in the right direction to make sure I'm really representing the problem as a whole? I think that's the advice I would give you.
And that made me think of something else. It's also okay not to pick the easy part of the topic. So the example I gave earlier of if your topic is the situation in the Middle East, I don't want to say easy, but like the most known portion of that topic would be, Israel and Palestine, especially with what's going on. And certainly that can and should be addressed. But to say that the entirety of the situation in the Middle East is synonymous with Israel and Palestine doesn't encompass the whole topic. So it's okay to talk about Syria. It's okay to bring up any, other conflicts in the region. We're not going to diminish your position paper to say, wow, they didn't even mention Israel and Palestine. Like, we know that you are, based on the background information that you give us, that you are focusing your position paper on a particular aspect of the topic. And that is totally fine to do. So don't be afraid to do something a little more nuanced if it's not, the biggest thing that sticks out in the region. That's okay, because frankly, lots of regions have lots of issues that all need to be addressed. Was there any other questions? I forgot about the chat.
It's all right. There's another phone question that is submitted. How many position papers will we need to complete in total for the conference?
So 4, if you are submitting on behalf of your delegation, 3 committee topics plus the GA one. Or if you're in Security Council and you're submitting the one on behalf of your delegation for GA, even though you won't be in GA, but then that would be 5, because each committee topic has 3, each committee has 3 topics. So that would be 1 position paper for each. Now, if you are Argentina in the SH&C committee and you are not responsible for setting your GA delegation position paper, then you will just, and whoever is responding the delegation position paper that will be an additional one to theirs. So every delegate will have at least 3. Security Council delegates will have at least 4, and then that is subject to whoever on the delegation submits the GA paper.
Great clarifying question that we had an opportunity to
Yeah,
circle back
great
to the
question.
beginning material. Any other questions, y'all?
Any other questions generally about the conference? It's coming up. I have a countdown in my living room. It's also my son's spring break, so it's for both. But